Rules and Tools for Leaders is a guidebook with a twist. It's written by a distinguished 30-year veteran of the U.S. Air Force, Major General Perry Smith. General Smith, nice to see you.
Pleasure to be here.
In person, one-on-one, instead of via satellite
Yes,
for a
ma'am.
change. How did your military background contribute to your desire to write this book? Or actually, let me rephrase that. What leadership advice and guidelines did you learn as a member of the military?
Well, of course, I went to West Point, and they focus on leadership very hard at the military academy, and then they gave me opportunities to lead even as a very young person. And then you polish your skills because you get leadership job after leadership job after leadership job, so you get a chance to deal with lots of people and lots of issues, lots of crises. And so when you go out to the corporate world, you can take a lot of those things and give it to the corporate world and transfer some of those ideas and insights.
One of the people you quote in this book, Warren Bennis, says, American organizations have been overmanaged and under-led. What does he mean by that?
Well, I think what he means is that many organizations in business focus so much on the bottom line, so much on the budget, so much on the details that they forget that the real job of leadership is leading rather than managing, and that is motivating people, setting long-term goals and objectives, doing the strategic kind of stuff, which is more leadership than management. We have had a nice change in American business in recent years, and they're focusing now more on leadership than they did before.
Are good leaders born or made?
Good leaders are mostly made. There are a few people who are just natural leaders. I have a 3-year-old granddaughter who leads all the kids in the sandbox and on the playground. She has a natural leadership ability, but most leaders are made in the sense that they learn how to do it by doing and also by studying about leadership.
How do you learn to be a good leader, though? Just from actually doing it, or do you need to emulate certain people you admire who are effective?
That's a very good technique, role modeling. I use George Marshall as my role model. A good role model today would be somebody like Colin Powell, a man of high character, a great negotiator, a tough-minded individual, a man who has vision and strategic thinking. That's very good. That's a technique. And just doing leadership, getting in there and getting in the fray and being a leader in your community, in your family, in your job. We all are leaders, and we have to think of ourselves as leaders and try to polish those skills.
You say introverts make better leaders than extroverts, so that does not bode well for me.
Nor for me either. I'm a big extrovert. I love to talk. I think what we have here is the fact that introverts listen better, and the most important skill for leadership is the listening skill, particularly as you become higher and higher in organizations. You have to listen, and people who talk too much don't listen, and when they're not talking, they're thinking about what they're going to say next, so they fake listen. You and I both do that, Katie, and we've got to be careful about that.
You talk about, oh right, and you finish people's sentences, and
Yes.
That's so rude, isn't it?
It is rude.
But
Yes.
I can't help it sometimes.
I know.
Anyway, you talk about different kinds of bosses that are not good. Type A bosses are what? Just obviously?
Well, they're hyperactive, they're micromanagers, they develop crises even though there may not be crises. Those kinds of people are really a problem to work for.
Power seekers?
Who are interested in their own ambition, their own goals, and not interested in their people or the mission.
Wimpy bosses?
Unwilling to make a decision. When the time has come to make a tough decision, they postpone it. They're not tough.
Country club bosses, more interested in their golf game?
Their
than the
golf
company?
game, their tennis game, and all that, and they let somebody else run the company. And those people are not too bad to work for because you can get a lot of things done, but if they're not engaged, they don't provide the
But
leadership
you can
role.
be too engaged, as in the case of the mother hen boss.
The mother hen boss. So what you've got to do is you've got to trust people. Very important to trust people. Give power away, but at the same time, keep a hand on the reins so that you are, in fact, the leader in making the big decisions.
But you say you should embrace failure if you're truly a good leader.
Absolutely. You should allow people to fail. You should congratulate them for trying something new, to taking some risks, and learn from failure. I had 5 major failures in my life, and I learned a lot from them. I think I was matured by them.
In fact, you suggest when people interview potential candidates, you ask them about the biggest failure they've ever had and what they learned from that. And if they don't admit to any failures, you sort of stay away?
Well, you stay away. You worry about them a little bit because, 1, they probably haven't tried anything in their life, or 2, they've had failures and are not willing to admit it. The best leaders are the mature people who admit failure, learn from failure, and are not afraid of taking the next risk.
All right. General Perry Smith, the book is Rules and Tools for Leaders, a down-to-earth guide to effective managing. It's fun to read and to look through.
Thank you, Katie.